Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, a fan-run podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. My name is Assassin of Madness and I have been a fan of Assassin's Creed since the early days of Altair. I've also been following Assassin's Creed before it was known as Assassin's Creed. A little unknown fact for some, but for the hardcore fans might know this, Assassin's Creed did start its days as a spin-off of Prince of Persia, dubbed Prince of Persia Assassins. Before the game could grace our screens to see what it would have been like for Prince of Persia to have assassins in the game, the project was scrapped and built from the ground up as Assassin's Creed, with a free-running mechanic that we have seen in Prince of Persia games, but a new storyline, new integration of history, and an all-new experience that, over 12 years later, we have 11 games, 2 standalone DLCs, 2 spin-offs, mobile games, and a film, and a lot of comics which I've had a chance to read, and they're really good, and some books which I haven't had a chance to read the books except for the Odyssey. But the Odyssey book is a topic for another podcast. Now, in this podcast, I'm going to just run over what the channel is and what I aim to be bringing to you guys in the future. As I said at the start, I am a fan of Assassin's Creed, so anything I discuss in podcasts will be my own personal interpretations, my own thoughts, and my own theories. I will, however, be providing lore recaps. If you are rusty on the first civilization, the Isu, then don't worry, I will have a podcast that on in due time. Or if you are wondering what the Pieces of Eden did and how they have shaped mankind in the future, I've got you covered. A couple of things we'll go over before we discuss more about Assassin's Creed and who I am. I have a Facebook page called Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. Search it up. I will post different topics about where I'm going, what's going on with the podcast, what's next, but also it's a chance for you guys to have a voice and say what you would like me to talk about. If you are sitting here thinking, do you know if there's any tips or tricks for Odyssey? I will do a discussion for you. If you want to recap on where Juno is after all these years, I will tell you. Or if you just want to vent out there about how they are changing the game. And now, I do agree they're changing the game a lot, but sometimes it might be for the better, or it might not. We can only tell. But I mainly want to have this podcast as a fan podcast for all. To come, sit back, and listen to different things from the world of Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed has what I dub a Kingdom Hearts effect. We have 12 years of games, a huge lore to follow, and a huge canon history that, for people who have jumped into Origins because of the new RPG and open world direction, they might not be aware of some of the little details that have gone into the series. For example, I have spoke to some people who jumped in for Odyssey, and they love it, but they don't understand what the Assassin organization is. And my next podcast, which will be next week on Saturday, 8 PM, will be going over who the Brotherhood is and why they started. Thank you to Origins, we had a bit more details with Bayek and Aya of how the Brotherhood started, so I'll go over, spoiler free, I don't want to ruin anyone's experience, I think it will be spoiler free, of how they started in ancient Egypt, but how also the Brotherhood has formed over the years through Ezio's Italy, Altair's Jerusalem, Edward Kenway's Caribbean, and more locations. I'm using the Spreaker Studio app on my mobile, and if I can with technology, I'm quite noobish with technology, I will put out there, I would love some of you guys to join me in a discussion. There is a possibility of me doing live podcasts, and if you're very happy for a live podcast where we can interact and integrate, please let me know on my Facebook page. I am more than willing to speak to my fans of Assassin's Creed, because we're all one brotherhood, be it if we're followers of the Templars or we're followers of the Brotherhood. Also with this channel, I don't want to go into too much speculation about the upcoming game Ragnarok, or Kingdom, which is a unique name. So I will not be going into too much detail where if I put too many thoughts and theories out there, it could be a bit heavy, because it's always better to have an Assassin's Creed game as a surprise instead of going over in our heads what the next game could be. If it is a Viking game, however, I will be excited, but I'll also be concerned because it will mean more naval combat. And I only think Black Flag was the only game that nailed naval combat. The other games, mainly Odyssey, naval combat's a hit and miss. It's a great game, great world, but I prefer being on my feet, stalking through the shadows, taking down different Templar guards. So, less about the channel and a bit more about me, because why not? As I said, my name's Assassin of Madness. It's my screen name that I use for gaming and I use for my YouTube channel. And I've been playing Prince of Persia since The Sands of Time, and I can't remember the other one, but it was, yeah, I played Prince of Persia, my brain's gone dead. And I think Prince of Persia was a really great game for its immersion of free running and its combat. The 360 one was a hit and miss for me. It was just dubbed Prince of Persia. It was a hit and miss. It was trying to grasp the straws, but after that it fell on silent. And I think it's fallen silent because of Assassin's Creed. Now, the reason why I want to do a fan podcast is I never shut up about Assassin's Creed. It is my life. If I had the time and money, I would collect everything Assassin's Creed, be it the books, be it merchandise, be it those amazing statues Ubisoft's done, especially the new Ezio Auditore figurine. That looks amazing. If I could get that, I think I would put it in a glass case with some security locks and a few little lasers so none of my kids can get there and break it, because I'd be screaming if they did. The other reason why I'm a fan of Assassin's Creed is I'm a history nerd, proud to be it, and I've always enjoyed how Assassin's Creed manages to deliver fiction, but behind a blend of history. It's a unique way to play a game, and with the addition of Discovery Mode, it's added that extra depth that some games don't. You get thrust into this world, but there's nothing there to learn except for the game lore or the cinematic universe, whereas Assassin's Creed says, hang on a minute, you can learn about our lore, or you can learn about our human history that you've been probably skipping school if you didn't want to do it, which, come on, who wants to sit for a lecture about half an hour talking about ancient Egypt's building a pyramid when you could walk around ancient Egypt stabbing people in the shadows for a good cause and slowly learning along the way. Now that's enough about me, and I think I've waffled on enough. I don't want to be boring yous all, so the podcast will be ranging between 10 to 15 minutes long. I hope you follow me on that journey as we create something new and something exciting. I'm hoping to get more information and probably some breakdowns of the lore. I first want to start with the first civilization, because Odyssey did uncover new evidence that we didn't realize about the Isu. I think that'd be a good topic to discuss. So next Saturday between 8 and half 8, I'll be uploading a podcast to Spotify, Google Podcast, Spreaker Studio, and Apple Podcast, if I can get them working. I'm a bit clumsy. And hopefully you guys can tune in, listen to them, and most of all, come to my Facebook page or my email and give me tips and advice to see what you would like to improve, or if you think I'm waffling on too much, because my kids tell me I do talk too much. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'd love to speak to you next time.